From Forest Park in Saskatoon, this is the Canadian Prairie University Ultimate Championships on Max TV, local on demand. Hi everybody, Heath Mulligan along with Bobby Anderson, and we are on our way to the Open Championship final. And who are we going to see, Bobby?
Well, the University of Manitoba defeated the University of Saskatchewan in the semifinal, and then the University of Winnipeg defeated the University of Alberta. So we have an all-Manitoba final matchup. There's a lot of familiarity between these two teams. They've played together throughout the summer, and now they've gone their separate ways to school, and now they'll be facing off at the University Championships.
U of M and U of W. The opening pull is just moments away. The Canadian Prairie University Ultimate Championships is now on Max TV, local on demand. University of Manitoba taking the field. They are wearing the black with gold trim, and we've even got a guy with a clown mask over in the background. Hey, whatever it takes to keep warm. It's just a degree above freezing here at Forest Park in Saskatoon. That is the University of Winnipeg, wearing white with some black and red trim, and they are going to get the game started with the first pull. Are those Ewoks on their jerseys, Bobby?
It looks like that, an Ewok shooting a bow and arrow.
I think so.
Looks like the teams are going for a little bit of intimidation of each other with the clown mask and the Ewoks. We'll see if it works out for them.
Yeah, well, you said some of these players probably know each other from club play and league play, and maybe having played growing up even. So it could be a fun game in that sense. I'm sure there'll be good camaraderie on both sides, but at the same time, they are playing for a Canadian Prairie University championship, and Manitoba has the disc to start in this open division. Lots of chatter from the sidelines on both sides, instructions being shouted out, and Manitoba looking to strike first, and they've got it into the end zone. Titus Chu with the first point of the game, and that great movement down the field, and that was the pass right before the scoring assist, which was just over the top of the defender, and Manitoba's quickly out front.
Yeah, that's definitely the way they wanted to start the game. Nice offensive hold. That throw was almost picked off by the Winnipeg defender, but great put over top of him, gave him enough air for the receiver to run onto it, and easy score into the end zone for Manitoba.
So Titus Chu has the first one, and Manitoba is on the board. A little quick rundown of how the game is scored. Each time you catch the disc in the end zone, it is a single point. First team to 15 will be declared the Canadian Prairie University Ultimate Champion. So we play to 15. An hour 45, that is the maximum game time, and you can see the clock bottom left. We're just a minute 20 in. It will go to a maximum of an hour 45, and at that time, the team with possession will have a chance to finish that possession, assuming it's not tied at the end of it. That would be the end of the game. But we don't always see the game go the full time limit because they do play up to 15. So we'll watch and see. There is a halftime break, just a quick one, as soon as one of the two teams reaches essentially the midpoint on the way to 15. So once somebody has 8, we will take a break. And there is a flexibility on that rule too. If it goes long, if it's taking forever for a team to get to 8, we could have a halftime at the 45-minute mark. But again, these are things that may come up that Bobby will tell you all about when they get here, because I'm a novice, but I'm learning. Turnover by Winnipeg. That means Manitoba has a chance to stretch their lead as they take possession deep in their own end.
The Winnipeg handler had a great look, just put a little bit too much angle on that disc, and it just trailed right away from that receiver. So Manitoba now with a chance for their first break of the game. So another ultimate term, if a team starts on defense and they end up scoring that point, we refer to that as a break.
Carlos Villa got it up the short pass on the sideline to Derek Hatch. Back to Villa. Working it to the far side. Now sliding into the middle. Kimmich Schwartz. Over to McDonald. really working it around. Brett Basher, everybody getting a touch here on this possession. Via one more time. Very tightly defended, nowhere to go with it. They'll keep working it up. Do you have a limited time when you have possession before you have to score? There's not like a shot clock like in basketball, right?
Yeah, so you'll see that each person, once they catch the disc, they have someone marking them, and that marker will say stalling, and then they'll start counting, and they have 10 seconds to get rid of the disc. And if they fail to get rid of it before that 10 seconds, then it results in a turnover.
And there's a turnover. That's another way to turn it over. Pick it off. Snagged out of the air nicely by Jordan Warren. So 10 seconds once you've been marked to get rid of it. But a team can possess as long as they want, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a little bit too long running under it. Jesse Casey couldn't get there. And back over to the Manitoba side goes the disc. Matt McDonald, go ahead.
Again, Winnipeg had a really great look, but they're just not executing quite well enough with those throws. They're putting a lot of edge going into that direction, and it's just sailing off to the left side of the field.
Derek Hatch slides it into Basher. Moves it up to McTavish. They'll have to feed it back. Looking for holes in that Winnipeg defense, but not spotting them readily. And look at this. Wide open in the end zone is Brett Basher, and it is 2-0, Manitoba.
Yeah, that was a great grab by the Manitoba receiver there. Winnipeg doing a really good job of putting pressure on that, but just couldn't get a piece of it, and then finds his teammate wide open in the end zone.
Oh my goodness. The sun has come forth. This game is in its infancy, but Bobby and I have been here for a couple hours. We watched another game before this, and we've been sitting out here in the 2-degree temperature, getting slowly colder and colder. And here's the sun. I almost want to celebrate.
I think the players will also be celebrating, a little chance to warm their hands up.
Yeah.
The disc can get very hard when it's this cold out, and if your hands are also cold, it doesn't feel super great to catch it. So you'll see lots of players out there have gloves on, but there are a few that elect not to wear the gloves, so I'm sure they're appreciating the warmth right now.
Looks like the pull is going to go all the way back into the end zone in Winnipeg, trailing 2-0. Quickly bringing it up the field. Tottle with a nice pass right to the end zone. Did he get there? Yes, he did. The celebratory punt from Nick Anerson on a nice long shot. Great put into the end zone, and Winnipeg has narrowed the score.
Much better execution on this point. We saw that they really liked to huck it in the first point. They had a couple long shots, but the throws were just a little off. But this one, he's able to put just enough edge on it that it doesn't trail away and finds his receiver in the end zone.
Had some spluckety on that toss. And it was received for the point. Winnipeg have the lead of the University of Manitoba. And Winnipeg will give the disc back now as they get set for the pull. Boy, we've got some players on the sidelines doffing a layer of clothes as the sun comes out. That's a good sign. A little too chilly. The fall in Saskatchewan has not been kind to our ultimate friends.
It has not really felt like fall. There was also a tournament here last weekend, as we mentioned before, and they were playing in the snow. So pretty nice conditions that we have. There's really no breeze at all, which the wind can play quite a factor when you're playing ultimate frisbee. So I think the players in this game are probably pretty happy right now.
Yeah. I know the commentators are digging it on the sidelines, and our camera crew are thinking, this is good. Kalinowski with the pull all the way down to the Manitoba goal line, and here they come now back on the attack on offense. Look at this one. Is it going to stay in the field? I think they're going to count it. Boy, I tell you, I think Titus Chu had to tiptoe the sidelines there. You could tell by his footwork that he knew he was right on that line. And as soon as he caught it, the roar went up from his bench, indicating that he had, in fact, stayed in bounds.
Well, that was a great cut from Chu. As soon as he saw that handler go to make that cut, he just took off and had yards on his defender and had to tiptoe the line, but does a great job of keeping his feet in bounds and gets the point.
Chu's second score of the day makes it 3-1 for the University of Manitoba. This is such a fun sport to watch when that disc is up there hanging in the air and you've got a receiver running for it. It's like watching any sport where there's a ball to catch, except it's kind of like in slow motion. It's hanging up there and the player is running for it. It's really kind of poetic. I like it. It's pretty.
I'm glad you're getting on board.
Yeah, totally on board. Hey, what if I wanted to play this? Am I too old?
You are not too old. We talked about this in the other game too. That's one of the best things about Ultimate is really any age can play it. There's lots of awesome junior programs that are happening across the country. Manitoba has been doing a great job with their juniors for years. As we can see, this is the results of it. We have an all Manitoba final. There's also some junior programs happening in Saskatchewan now. There's some high school ultimate, but then there is also masters divisions. So if anyone does want to play, you can either go to Sask Ultimate, or there's associations in Regina and Saskatoon, and actually Moose Jaw is starting to get one going as well. So there's lots of great opportunities to play and get involved with Ultimate.
Turnover as Manitoba has just taken the disc away. I love how they call, you get to my age and they call it Masters Division. Call it what it is. Old dudes.
There is actually also Grandmasters.
Oh,
so, yeah. We're very polite in Ultimate. It's a self-refereed sport. We call all our own fouls. All the in and out calls happen on the field. We call the old people masters. It's very polite.
I call this score University of Manitoba. Right there on the goal line. Just a quick little toss right here. And there it is, Brett Basher with his second point of the day. And Manitoba stretching out their lead a little bit now. They've put 4 on the board, and Winnipeg is going to have to catch up.
Yeah, Winnipeg's had a couple of those close calls with the defense. They are putting a lot of pressure on Manitoba, but just not able to get their hands on the disc. So Manitoba really in control here at 4-1.
What is considered in the sport of Ultimate a big score advantage? I mean, they're up by 3 points now. It's early in the game, etc. But 4 or 5 points, you get 4 or 5 ahead. That's starting to become a pretty fat lead, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little difficult to come back from that. Certainly not unheard of, but that's the thing about Ultimate. If you want to go on a run, then you have to get the point and then get the turnovers and score the next point. So it's not a place you want to get yourself in at the beginning of the game.
So Manitoba in a pretty strong position right now. Here's a long toss and just a little trick there by tricky for Kalinowski. He stopped and stuttered it a bit, just misjudged it ever so slightly and couldn't quite make the tough high catch.
Yeah, this is that same throw that we're seeing Winnipeg struggle with. We've seen 3 now go in that direction, and they're just putting a little bit too much edge on those flick hucks, and they're just trailing right to the left side of the field. And that's a really difficult catch for the receiver because it is coming in pretty blady at him. So
Blady.
Blady, yeah.
Okay.
That's when it has quite an angle. It's a blade.
I like how the people in your sport use the word huck, because I thought that was a Munster word when I was growing up, and you guys you call it a huck. We always said, yeah, huck the ball, huck it, huck the frisbee, huck the disc. There's a floating huck that's grabbed out of the air, not necessarily the intended target, but hey, man, somebody from Manitoba was there, and here they come again, putting the pressure on. Yeah, don't look until you've got it. Just that little peek, and it's on the grass, and opportunity lost for Manitoba to stretch the lead.
Yeah, that's one of the things with Ultimate. You do want to toe the line, but you also have to make sure that you have the disc before you do that.
There's a battle in the end zone, and it's knocked down. Defense will win that one, as going up was Zach Tottle, number 3 to make sure that it wasn't caught. Matt McDonald, the target.
So it looks like he did call a foul. Felt like there was some contact on his hand when he was going to catch that disc. The Manitoba player has contested it, so it will go back to the thrower.
So it's a do-over.
Yeah.
Sort of.
If the Manitoba player had agreed that, yes, I fouled you, then he would have had the disc on the end zone line there.
Okay. Winnipeg are down by 3. Time to make something happen. Can't let that gap get too big. There's some tight defense, a little bit of a bump even. Into the end zone. Yep. That one good into the hands of Dylan Kalinowski. And Winnipeg has their second score of the day.
Yeah, great possession by Winnipeg there. And you can see the benefit of being able to call your own fouls there. He felt like he was fouled. The Manitoba player thought that he didn't foul him, so they get the disc back and get to do it over, and then you see that they do end up getting the point. Sometimes in games, and we saw actually in the women's final, that there are observers. So the job of the observers is to call ins and outs. They keep the time for the players if they're taking too long in between points. And then if there are any calls that can't be resolved on the field, they can get the observers' opinions. But in this final, we actually don't have any observers, so all of the calls will be left to the players on the field.
I like the self-officiated sports. Good times. I've been a curler forever, and yeah, we don't have, until you get to a specific level, there's no officials involved. It's on your honors.
Yeah,
and it works.
It's one of the things that's really exciting the schools about Ultimate and getting it involved, because it does teach a certain level of self-control. Actually, Ultimate has a little acronym about dealing with self-refereeing called Be Calm, and it stands for certain things like steps that you should go through when there is a call on the field. So lots of the schools really like it for those benefits. Oh, great grab there.
Titus Chu laying out. He's been a pretty outstanding performer today. A couple scores, and he's made some real nice catches. Kamira has it in the middle of the field. Crew. And they'll work it to the far sideline. Eldridge went up the sideline that time to Binnen. Now they slow down the pace a little bit as Winnipeg tightens up on D and, in fact, get the turnover. Jordan Strempler, quick bust. Got in there with a hand, but do we have a contested play?
So the Manitoba player has called a foul. Felt like the Winnipeg player hit his hand as he was going for that D. And it'll be no contest, so he'll keep the disc there.
So Strempler, who knocked the disc down, said, yeah, hit your hand. That one's going to be a little long now. There's I think the first time today we've seen a hammer throw. Was that a hammer?
That was a hammer.
Yeah,
your favorite
somebody
throw.
has to explain to me how you can throw a disc upside down. But first, the diving catch moments ago. What a great effort by Titus Chu. I just, wow. I understand, throwing the forehand and the backhand, but sometimes you guys throw it upside down. And then there's the hammer throw where it's straight, I don't even know what I didn't do enough, mathematics classes, but, throwing it with the disc up and down like that, I don't know how you control that.
You definitely, it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah. What is the benefit of the hammer throw? Is it like it's a long distance throw? Is that the idea behind it?
The benefit of the hammer is, so we kind of